are going to start. If you all can sit together, please. Another way. We have already sent the mic upstairs. Okay, we'll start in a minute, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So today is our day 9. So far we have covered few topics. So inshallah, before we start learning about anything new, we will first do a quick revision on whatever we have already covered, and inshallah we will then start the new topic. Before I start, are there any questions which you guys want me to address? Okay, inshallah. So one is gender, which inshallah will be anyway covered within the revision, which we will do. But is there anything specific?
But if it's unknown, then we just put M instead of F. So just that.
Inshallah. So let's quickly do a revision of whatever we have studied so far before we start learning something new. So in fact, so we started our journey by understanding ism, and we said that in ism, whenever we would look at ism, there are 4 properties of each ism: status, number, gender, and type. In our previous sessions, we covered the status, which would be further divided into rafa, nasab, and jar. Then with respect to number, we said that in Arabic language actually is special from normal. I'm just keeping it low because people are praying. Let them finish, then inshallah I'll increase my. So with respect to the number, we have singular, we have pair, and then we have the plural. Then in the last session we studied the gender. So in Arabic and normally as well, we have 2 types of gender. One is masculine and then the other one is feminine. So we have covered this, and inshallah we will do a quick revision of these properties. Just give me a sec. So while we were studying, we said that with respect to status, we have rafa, nasab, and jar. Now, how do we tell the status? We said the first thing which we need to do is to memorize the Muslim chart, which is on page 6 of the book, which we have printed. Now, within Muslim chart, we have the ending sound, which would be u or un, a or an, and e or in, for us to find out that which ism is rafa, which is nasab, and which is jar. So u or un would give us rafa, a or an would give us nasab, e or in would give us jar, and then the ending combinations are also there, which is ani, aini, aini, and then una, ina, ina. So we said whenever you look at an ism, always try to first check for the ending combination before you look for the ending sound. Abdullah, can you get me the iPad from inside? Abdullah, Abdullah, can you get me the iPad from inside? Then within the ending combination, we have the combination for the pair, which is ani and aini. So ani would give us 2 rafa. Aini can give us 2 nasab or 2 jar. And then we can also have the plural, which is different in masculine and feminine. So in the masculine plural, the ending combinations are una for 3 nasab, ina, which can be for the 3 nasab, and jar both. Sorry, I think I mentioned una for 3 nasab, but it is rafa. I just want to mute the other. Okay, so far is it clear with everyone? Then we said that for the plural in feminine chart, we have the ending combination, which normally ends with atun for 3 rafa in feminine, and atin ending for 3 nasab or jar in feminine. So this is kind of an overlap between the status and then the number as well, because now we said that we would be looking at each ism from 4 properties, right? So we would see the status, and then the number, and then the gender, and inshallah today we will be touching upon the last topic, which is the type as well. Then we said that with respect to status, any ism also can have flexibility. So we said that the first level of flexibility is that all, like some of the ism would have fully flexible ism. So in that, the ism would have separate ending sound or ending combination in each status. So in rafa we have separate sound, in nasab we have totally separate sound, and in jar we have separate sound. So un, an, in is fully flexible. Then we have partially flexible, where we said we may have a different sound for rafa, but for nasab and jar they are same. So u, a. And one of the common example which we studied earlier was the names of the Arab, non-Arab prophets, and the name of the females, and then the colors and all the other, the proper name of the places as well. Then we said that some of the ism can be non-flexible, which means regardless if we are talking about rafa, nasab or jar, they would always keep the same sound. So they, within the separate statuses, their sound is not changing. Then we studied heavy versus light. So with that we said that within Muslim chart, and all what we have in Muslim chart are by default heavy. Heavy. So when they are heavy, only the ism which are in Muslim chart can also be made light. And how do we make an ism light? We said we normally would remove tanween. So we would remove 1 haraka and then we would keep 1, or we would remove the extra noon, which would be the noon in ani, aini, aini, or una, ina, ina ending. So these are the extra noon, and we only remove the noon which we have in the Muslim chart. So in fact, to keep it simple, the combination what we have in Muslim chart only can be made light. Okay, so this was the high level for the status number, and then now we can quickly touch upon the summary of gender. So in gender, we said that we know that there are 2 genders. So we have the masculine, and then the other one is feminine. Now, before even we go into the details, the way we normally analyze the gender in Arabic, okay, is not purely related to the male and female. Okay, that was one thing which we discussed. So within the gender analysis, we do have 6 categorizations, right, which we would be analyzing. So by default, if we do not have any of these 6 feminine identifiers, we would in Arabic consider that ism as masculine. And what are those? So we have within, like, if any ism would not come in any of these 6 categories which we will be listing, we would consider that ism as masculine. So the first one is the real or biological feminine. So this is the real one, right, which we have. We have the mother and a father. We have a brother and a sister, right? So these are the real biological gender. Then, this was the reason why I said that when we are talking about the jins or gender in Arabic grammar, it's not purely related to male or female. It's more than that. So the first category is specifically related to male and female, which is the real or biological gender. Second category is the fake feminine. And with that, we said any letters or any ism which are normally ending with alif and hamza immediately next to that, or the ya with the dagger on top, this is called ya maksura in Arabic, and then the rounded ta, which is called ta marbuta. So most of the words which would be ending with ta marbuta are feminine, but we have also seen some exceptions like the names Ubeda or Malaika and all these words. So these are exceptions Khalifa are the exception for those words. Then we said in Arabic, body parts which are in pair, which means I have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 hands, 2 legs, regardless if we are referring to them in singular or both in combination, they are considered feminine. So if I'm talking about my 2 eyes, both eyes are also considered feminine. If we are talking about 1 eye, that 1 eye also would be considered feminine. Is it clear so far? So regardless of the singular or dual form of the body part, we would consider them as feminine. Then we said specific names of the places are also considered feminine. Now this was the most trickiest part, right, which we were finding it difficult. So we said that in terms of the creations of Allah can be divided into 2 main categories: intellectual being and non-intellectual being. Now within intellectual being, we consider 3 creations: insan, which is human, jinn, and angels. So these are considered the intellectual being, and anything other than that are considered non-intellectual being or ghair aqil. So for non-intellectual beings or non-human, to make it simple, we said all non-intellectual beings are considered feminine. This is grammatically, okay? This holds true regardless of their gender in singular form. So we took the example of kitab, masjid, and other, like the car as well, sayyara. So their singular form is sometimes feminine or masculine, but their broken plural is always considered 1 feminine as per Arabic grammar. Any questions? So animals are not part of the intellectual being. So there are 3 intellectual beings: human, angels, and jinn. So animals would be considered as non-intellectual beings. So when we would be referring to them in plural, grammatically they would be considered 1 feminine. Yes. When we would analyze them from the number point of view, it would be considered as 1 feminine. And inshallah, when we would analyze specific words, you would understand that how and why this is important. Yes, Samir. Rayan, can you give him the mic? Okay. Just give me 1 second. So, can we get the iPad again? Looks like this mic is connected from the other mic which we have muted. Just give me 1 second. Can we just increase the volume? second, we'll increase the volume. Try speaking now.
Yep. Okay, so I was just going to ask the last point, is that non-human meaning only jinn and malaika or just in general?
So there are three intellectual beings: human, angels, and jinn.
Okay.
So anyone other than this criteria would be considered a non-intellectual being as per the Arabic grammar. So if we are talking about men, so there are three men. So if we will be using the word which are plural for men or for a female, they are part of intellectual being. Or if Allah would be talking about angels, then again they would be considered as intellectual being. But as brother was asking about animals, for example, if Quran is talking about cows, right, we have Surah Baqarah, right? So then they are not intellectual being. So the grammatical rule would be considering the non-intellectual being rule, not the intellectual being. Is it clear?
Is it for plural, or is it just for example, as an example, this is a kursi. So are we talking about the plural form of this, and we say that's a feminine because it's a non-intelligent?
Okay, let me go back to this slide. Inshallah, this should help. So we said non-intellectual being, this is what we are studying, right? All non-intellectual beings are considered feminine when we are talking about their plural. So we took the example of sayyara. So the word sayyara in singular is feminine. The plural of that is sayyarat. That is also considered one feminine grammatically. Then we have masjid, which in Arabic grammar, the singular one is masculine. The plural of masjid is masajid. Now grammatically, this would be considered one feminine. Kitab is one book. In Arabic grammar, the singular part of version of kitab is masculine. But kutub is the broken plural of the kitab. So book is not part of the three intellectual being which we have considered. So for the plural, yes. Clear? Then we said that there are, the last category is the words which Arab considers feminine. There is no rule, but the Arabs consider, and this actually holds true to any language. So in different languages, people would treat different things as feminine. As we took the example of yogurt in Urdu, right? So in Pakistan, we consider yogurt as feminine. But in India, people speak Urdu as well, and for them, the same word of yogurt, which is dahi, is considered as masculine. So similarly, there are different languages, and based on different language, they considered the words as feminine or masculine as well, and this is available on the page 12 within your book. Any questions? Can we proceed? Okay. So inshallah, today we will be starting the last topic of the properties of the ism. So far we have already covered status, number, and gender. And inshallah, during today's session, we will cover the last topic, which is the type or qism. So in Arabic grammar, an ism can have two types. One, which is proper, or in Arabic it is called ma'arufa, or in Urdu we will call it khas, or common, which are in Arabic would be nakira, or in Urdu people would call it am, so common. So these are the two categorizations, right? Proper or common. So to make it easy, we will be using the English terms, right? Proper versus common. So these are the types for an ism. Now let's see that how this type analysis work within the Arabic grammar. So we said we have common, which is by default. So similar to what we studied with for the gender, we said by default everything is considered masculine unless we have the rules which we have gone through, so 6 categorization. So similarly with respect to type as well, every ism would be considered common until we would have the rules which we will quickly go through during today's session, inshallah. So we said the other type is proper or ma'arifa. So there are 6 kinds of proper, right? So the first and the easiest identifier for us to know that if an ism is proper is the word which is starting with alif and lam, which is al. So whenever you would see an ism starting with al, that is considered proper in Arabic. Can you guys still hear me? So we said the first kind of proper is the word which starts with alif and lam, which is al. We will touch that. Just give me 2 minutes and inshallah you would know that. Then we said proper names. So for example, if we are taking your name, right? So if I'm saying Brother Ahmad, so I know I'm talking to you, I'm not talking to anybody else. So the names of people, proper names, are also considered proper. Then the one who's being called. So if you all are sitting here and if I'm calling Rayan or I'm calling you, come here. So I'm very specific, I'm talking to a specific person. So the one who's called also is proper. So let's say you all are sitting here, but I'm only calling one person. So the one who's being called is also proper. Then we have pronouns. So in Arabic, pronouns are also proper. We have not studied pronouns so far. Inshallah, in next few sessions we will study, but let's first analyze the types of proper. So the first one, we said words which starts with al. Second one is the proper name. Third is the one who's being called also is considered proper. Then we have pronouns. And then we said ism ishara or pointer words. For example, if I'm saying, give me this chair. So I'm pointing. So when you are pointing to something, that would become proper. So the pointer words which are used, this, that, and all, they are also considered proper. So the example is hadha, tilka, and all the other pointer words which inshallah we will study later. Then we have another type of ism which is called ism mawsul, which normally is used, inshallah we will study later, but just to give you the context, when Allah would talk about, like when you are referring to somebody, you know, in your thoughts, for example, those who, right? So let's say if Allah is talking about the people who would go in Jannah, or people who would be in hellfire, and all those people who are not there, for example, pointer you are saying, you can see. So if I'm referring to somebody, people, those who are in Melbourne, for example, so I'm not seeing them, but I'm talking about them. I'm not seeing, I'm not pointing, right? So ism mawsul are also considered proper. Then words before of, so the word before of, if the word after of is proper. So you remember we were studying about jar, and we said that the jar is something, an ism which comes after of. So the word before of would be proper if the word after of is also proper. So for example, if you would say son of Ahmad, so now that son also would be considered proper in Arabic grammar. Book of Allah, or the book of Allah, or the book of Allah, sorry. That also, the book also would be considered proper because the word after of, which is Allah, is proper. not always. That's why we clearly mentioned the word before of is proper when the word after of is proper.
And if the word after of is not proper, then nothing happens.
Then it would not be. Is it clear? Other way? All good? 100%? 50%? 90? Alhamdulillah. We will cover the 10%. Yes. Nida. Okay, so now let's dig in further. So when we are saying, we studied the Muslim chart, right? So Muslimun, Musliman, Muslimin. So when we are seeing this Muslim chart generally, so un, an, in ending, in English we can consider this as a. So a Muslim, right? When we have al, the word al, alif and lam means the. So if we say al-Muslimu, the meaning would be the Muslim. So if we have Muslimun, the meaning would be a Muslim. When we have al-Muslimu, the meaning would become the. So we are now talking about a proper, somebody specific. Clear? So with al, as Owais was highlighting earlier, so when we add al into an ism, tanween would not be there. So we would remove the tanween and we keep one haraka. So if the word was ending as Muslimun, it became al-Muslimu. If the word was Musliman, it would be al-Muslima. And then if the word was Muslimin, it would be al-Muslimi. So Muslimun is a Muslim. When we remove the tanween and add the al, so it would be al-Muslimu, so the meaning would be the Muslim. Is it clear? Then let's quickly review the Muslim chart. So in Muslim chart, the first word was Muslimun. When we add al, we remove tanween. So the end result would be al-Muslimu. Then the pair was Muslimani. When we add al, we remove tanween. We do not remove noon. So it would become al-Muslimani. Okay. Then when we had Muslimaini, al is added, it would become al-Muslimaini.
Compared to, because we learn about the light words, and in the light, if it starts with alif lam, then automatically it will be considered as light, right? But we also remove extra noon at the end. But here we are not removing extra noon.
So when we are making words light or ism light, that is different. When al is added and the tanween is removed, the word is not considered light. And that is something which is coming in a minute. If we have Muslimuna with al, it would become al-Muslimuna. So now we are talking about specific, proper. So Muslimun is common. Al-Muslimu is proper. Muslimani is common. Al-Muslimani is proper. Muslimaini is common. Al-Muslimaini is proper. Muslimuna is common. Al-Muslimuna is proper. Then we have Muslimina, common. Al-Muslimina, proper. So we said addition of al only removes the tanween. It does not make the word light. This was the question which you were asking. So in Arabic, we do not consider that when al is added and the tanween is removed, this Muslim did not actually turn into lighter version. Yeah, it is proper, but it is not light. Yeah, because normally we would have un or an or in ending, but with al, the leftover, like the end result would be al-Muslimu, al-Muslima, or al-Muslimi, not Muslimun, Musliman, Muslimin. right? Because if you see for the pair and plural, it's not changing anything. It's just an addition of al. However, we know that grammatically, when we add al, we cannot maintain tanween. So tanween would be removed, but we would have one haraka only. So the impact, if you see, is only on the singular version, not for the pair and plural. Because pair and plural are staying as is. Is it clear? So now, as we have grown up, so inshallah new rules will come. So now you need to understand things from different angles, okay? So we were taking baby steps, and now we need to take, different steps, inshallah, with the knowledge what we have gained. So earlier we studied that partially flexible words would only have u, a. Correct? Now we said, and then we said in partially flexible we do not have e ending in jar. But now we need to learn something new. So a partially flexible word can be made fully flexible in two conditions. The first condition is whenever we are adding al. So when a word has when the word is partially flexible and al is added to that ism, then in jar it would accept e ending. If it is not having al beginning, then it would still have u, a ending. And then the second condition is when it is mudaf, which we have not studied yet. It is coming later, inshallah. So when it comes, inshallah, I'll explain it further. We will do the examples, inshallah. Yes, Rayan.
Can you say like muda'af in like Arabic? Like, can you say in Arabic also?
Yes, you can.
How you
This is to make it easy for people who cannot read Arabic yet.
Okay. So how do you read it?
Yeah. So it is muda'af. Yes. So far, is it clear? So now, we will quickly list down the Muslim chart with the new rule which we have just studied, right? So we said we have un, in ending sound for the singular one. Then we said for partially flexible, we may have u, a sound. And then we said now when we studied al, so with al, rafa would be u ending. Nasab would be a ending. And jar would be e ending. So this is something which we have studied new. And this is same for fully flexible and partially flexible. So if the word is already fully flexible, it cannot have tanween. So in ending cannot be there. It can only be e ending. Right? And if the word was partially flexible, in normal case, it would only have u, a. But now, because the al is added, it would also have al and u ending, al with a ending, and then in jar it would be al and e ending. Okay? Another way?
Yes.
So these are all ending sounds. Then for the pair, we studied ani, aini, right? They do not change regardless if we are adding al or the word is without al. And then we have three or more which are plural. So we have una, ina, and then we have tun, tin for feminine. So the top line is for the masculine and the bottom line is for the feminine chart. So these are all ending combination because they have more than one letters. Is this clear? So the only addition now is that when we are talking about proper ism, the chart is slightly changing for partially flexible words. Is it clear? Okay, so now what we are going to study is the rule of tajweed, not the rule of grammar. But because we will be looking into Qur'an, we would see these examples, so it's important for us to know that how this works. So in tajweed, when we have al word, right? So if Rayan, can you read this for me, please?
الجنة
Al-jannatu.
القمر الشمس الطالب.
Now, in some words, the lam of al has sukoon. Sukoon means there is no haraka on it, right? And we read the lam. So if you read, Rayan, can you read al, the first word again?
الجنة
So are you reading the lam of al or not? Can you read the second one?
القمر
In this one, are you reading the lam of alif or not? Read the next.
الشمس
Can you be louder?
الشمس
In this one, are you reading the lam of al? Can you read the last one?
الطالب
Here also, are you reading the lam of? No. So, in Arabic, especially with respect to the tajweed rules, sometimes we read the lam of alif, and in some cases we do not. And in this slide, I will explain how it works. So, in some words, when the lam has sukoon, okay, on the other hand, we totally ignore, like ash-shamsu. So, we are directly connecting with sheen. At-talibu, we are directly connecting with ta, right? And we add the shadda, which is like the W sign on top, right? So, the words where we do not read the lam and directly go to the next letter are the scenarios of some of the huruf, which means the letters which are called huruf shamsi. And here in the green, you would see that in the tajweed rules, all the letters which are marked in green color are called the shamsi letters. So wherever you would see the examples in Qur'an as well, we do not, even though the ism has al, we normally do not pronounce the lam, but we directly go to the next word, like ash-shamsu, at-talibu. Is it clear?
Yes.
Because most of us already read Quran, so I think this is already clear, but we are just touching upon this, because while we will be analyzing the words from the grammar point of view, we may see the words where we have to analyze the words, you know, which are having the shamsi or qamari letters. Now, Rayan, I need your help again.
I read this one.
Yes, can you read full?
والعصر
Full.
والعصر والعصر
That's it?
والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر.
So here in the wal asr, are you reading the lam or not? Lam of al, the al.
Yes.
You're reading. Is he reading the lam? Okay. So the word, a word that starts with al will always join with the word before it as well. So here, because this was not part, the ayn is not part of the shamsi letter, we read al, the lam. When the al is joining with the word before it, okay, we will write the alif of the al, but we will not read. Okay, and that alif is not in Arabic is considered as hamzatul wasl. So if you see in the Usmani script, the easiest identification can be the small sod kind of, you know, the letter on top of it. So that would help you to understand that this is the alif. Which alif? Rayan? Hamzatul wasl. And then when the harf before al has a haraka, and which alif we are saying? The hamzatul wasl. Of al, we will make it sakin. For example, if we take the example of wa al hasanu. So this is wrong because we have a letter before al. So in this example in Arabic, you would see these examples in Quran as well. We would have wal hasanu. So when you are joining, And I'll give you the examples here in the next one. Ryan, can you read this for me, please? Read it full.
والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها.
So if you see the examples here, these two, washamsi and one nahari, are the example of huruf shamsi. So if you see, sheen and noon are part of the huruf shamsi. That's why when we are reading, we are directly connecting it to the shamsi letter, right? And I believe considering that we all read Qur'an, we already know that how this rule works, but for grammar analysis, we need to clearly distinguish them. And when you see wal qamari, we are pronouncing the lam, whereas for the one nahari and washamsi, we are not pronouncing the lam. Is this clear? Now, if the last harf before hamzatul wasl is sakin, which means it does not have any haraka, then we normally add a kasra to that letter and join it with the next letter. So how this works, and the most common example for that is the letter aw. So the word aw in Arabic means or. So for example, if I'm saying Nazar or Ahmad, right? So in that scenario, I would say Nazar aw Ahmad. So now if I have aw and then the next letter is al, right? So now we have alif, which is the hamzatul wasl, and lam as well. So how would we write? So so let's take this example. Sadiqun aw qadhibun, right? So here we do not have any al, right? These are all common words. Sadiqun aw kadhibun. So whatever is the meaning, for now we are not talking about the meaning of these words, but sadiq or kadhib, we are talking about this, right? Now if we have the same example, if both two words needs to be joined, so if we are saying now proper as-sadiqu or al-kadhibu, so if I have to write this in Arabic, I would use aw, but when the word before al is sakin, the rule is that would take kasra, which means the zir in Urdu, right? So the aw, which was originally sakin, would be taking kasra. So you would read, can you read the second one, Rayan, for me, please? This one.
الصادق أو الكاذب.
So if you see now, we have directly joined, I'm not reading as-sadiqu aw al-kadhibu. So what Rayan has done, as-sadiqu awil. So this takes kasra, and then you directly join it with the lam. Okay, we will do this practice inshallah for this as well, but just try to understand for now. Is this clear?
Yes.
Anyone has any questions? So hamzatul wasl, okay. So we said a word that starts with al will always join with the word before it. Okay? Now when the al is joining with the word before it, we will write the alif of al, but we will not read it. This alif is called hamzatul wasl. And the easiest example which we saw in the Usmani script would be, if you see in this one, so we have, if you ignore the waw, you would read al-asr, right? But when we are joining with the previous letter, wal-asr. So now you are not saying wal-asr. You ignore the alif. Is it clear? Is it clear with everyone?
Yes.
Any confusion? So it's not read. When it is joined with the letter before, that alif is not read, which would normally be read. And then we have an exception. So if we have min, So here we said, sorry. So here we said normally when we would be joining, it would take kathra. But there is an exception. So when we will be joining with min, instead of kasra, min normally takes fatha, which is zabr in Urdu. So it would become minal masjidi. We will not read it as minil masjidi. Minal masjidi. This is the only exception in this rule. Is it clear? Anyway, we are not writing Arabic. We are trying to read Qur'an and understand. So don't worry that you have to build this logic. This logic is already available in Qur'an. You would be analyzing it. So if you know, then when we would see the ayat, we would know that how to understand, how to identify these words, inshallah. Any questions? Is it clear with everyone? Can we proceed? So now, to summarize, we said words or ism can be common or proper. So common is called nakira. In Urdu it is called am. So if we say salihun, this is proper or common? Common, right? So we would say a salih or an salih based on the English, right? So we will say an honest. Or in Urdu we would say nek, or to make it very specific, normally in Urdu people would add ek or koi or kuch. Let's say if you're talking about bread, you would say a bread, which means ek bread or ek roti, whatever. Now when we are talking about proper, which is ma'rufa, as-salihu. So we remove the tanween and al is added. And then the meaning would have the, which means now this ism is proper. So we would say the honest. Or we would, in Urdu, if you are translating, you would remove ek. So you are not talking about a or an. Is this clear? Any confusion? All good? So now if we quickly go through the summary of whatever we have studied so far. So we have already covered 4 properties of the ism. And we started with the status. So we have gone through the rafa, nasab and jar. We studied that how to tell the status. And there we said we have to memorize the Muslim chart. And within the Muslim chart we have the ending sound or ending combination. We said always look for the ending combination first. Then we studied the flexibility of the status, where we said the verb ism can be fully flexible, partially flexible, it can be non-flexible as well. We then studied light versus heavy. So when we said that the Muslim chart is by default heavy, we can make words from Muslim chart lighter by removing the tanween or by removing the extra noon. Then we started learning about numbers, and then we said in numbers we have singular, we have pair, we have the plural for the masculine, which means that's why we have M3, so masculine plural, or we have feminine plural, so 3 or more for feminine, and then we have the human broken plural, and then we have the non-human or intellectual human, like intellectual beings broken plural, or non-intellectual beings broken plural. Then we studied the broken plural observations as well, which means that the broken plural also would have the ending sound. So we cannot recognize them without knowing the vocabulary. So as part of our learning, inshallah, we will be building our vocabulary so that we know that these words are not singular, but they are broken plural. Then we said that humans can be treated as she. So you remember we said that the intellectual being, when we are talking about them grammatically, we have 2 options. We would either go with reality, which means it can be 3M or 3 feminine, or grammatically you would consider them 1 feminine as well. then non-intellectual being or non-human would always be considered one feminine. Clear? Then we studied the gender, and then we said in gender we already know the real or biological feminine. We studied the fake feminine, which would be many words which are ending with the ta marbuta, the rounded ta, or the alif and hamza ending, or the ya, or the ya maksura. Then the words which are considered feminine because of the way Arabs consider it, they are all written on the page 12 of the book. Body parts in pair, they are also considered feminine. And then broken plural. And in today's session we have touched upon the type, and we said that proper are names, any ism which starts with al, pronouns, pointer, ism mausul, or if you are calling someone, or mudaf is proper when the mudaf ilayh is proper. So this is the example of the word before of. So the inshallah in the next few sessions we would study, but the terminology is called mudaf for that. So the mudaf word, or the word which is before of, is proper if the word after of is also proper. So this is the summary of whatever we have studied so far. Now before even I go into the details, there were a couple of questions which I have received, that why were we studying these properties and how this would help us. So we have a few minutes, inshallah. I'll try to quickly summarize it with this chart. So in any language we can have sentences, right? Complete sentences. Within those sentences we can have fragments, which in Arabic or in Urdu would be considered murakkab, which means a sentence is a sentence which is logically communicating the full meaning. Let's say if I'm saying this is a book, so this sentence is complete. You completely understand that I'm talking about a book, so this is a book. Now if I say this book, you don't understand, you don't, like, it's not complete, right? The sentence is not complete. So we may have fragments as well, where it's not a complete sentence, but it is more than a word. Then we may have individual words, and that is what we were studying so far. So within individual word, we said there are three classifications. Individual words can be an ism, individual word can be a harf, or individual word can be a fi'l. And we started learning ism. Now for ism, each ism can have 4 properties, which we have just completed: status, gender, number, and type. So by knowing all these 4 properties, when 2 words would come together and we would analyze their 4 properties, we would be able to build fragments, which means more than 2 words can connect to each other. And then when more than 2 words would connect to each other, next step would be that how the sentence are built. So inshallah, in tomorrow's session, we would pick few examples where we would identify the 4 properties of the ism. And inshallah, from next session onwards, we would start identifying the words, like in a way that how can we make fragments? How do we make murakkab, where we still do not have the complete sentence, but how 2 words can come together and how they would impact on meaning. So inshallah, this was the reason why we were studying 4 properties, and you would understand inshallah in next few sessions that how important these 4 properties are, specifically with respect to the study of the ism. Another way? Is it clear? Any questions?
Broken plural.
Human broken plural?
Can you give one?
Yeah, we can. We can. So the brother is asking to give an example of the human broken plural, and we will go there, inshallah. So the word Rasulun, right? So this is for the Anbiya. right? So this is singular. The plural for Rasul is not Rasuluna, it is Rusulun. This is the intellectual being. Then Kitab is Kutub. Then we have Bahrun, Bahurun. Then we took some Alimun, Alimuna, or Ulama'u.
This is also.
This is also. So we took the example of Sumbulatun, Sumbulatun or Sumbulatun or Sanabil. Then Kafirun, Kafiruna, Kuffarun. And then the other example is the word for female. So Nisa'un is also a broken plural, which would be human. So Nisa'un is another example of a human broken plural. Is it clear?
So just to continue with this one, so for the non-intelligent beings, plural will be 1F, right?
So for non-intellectual being, plural would always be 1F. Non-intellectual being.
Yeah, but then how they talk about more, for example, mosque, right? So in English, how they talk about, for example, in English, if there is more than one mosque, then we add S, right? Mosque.
No.
But
So there is no grammatical rule to build the broken plural. They are as is, and we need to know them by vocabulary. We will not try to build a logic that how the broken plural are made.
Okay.
Yeah. So the broken plural are as is there, and we would only know them from vocabulary. There is no rule for broken plural, because if you would see, we just saw the example that in some cases we may have multiple options. So like the word kafirun, so we have kafirun, kafiruna, then we have kuffarun, or we also have kafaratun. And there is a reason when Allah is choosing one, when we have both options, it totally impacts the meaning. And inshallah, when time permits, I don't want to touch upon that now, so that you will have more complexities, but inshallah later we will touch upon this as well, that what impact the word or the ayah has when Allah is choosing the normal plural or the broken plural, wherever we have both options available. For example, the sumbula word, right? So we took the example that in Surah Baqarah, Allah is using this word, and in Surah Yusuf also the same is used, but in one surah the broken plural is used, in other one the normal plural from the Muslim chart is used, and it has an impact in grammar, and it has the impact on the meanings as well. So inshallah we will study that also later, inshallah. Any other questions? If we don't have any specific questions, I think we would, 1 minute. So this is the chart, the summary of whatever we have studied so far. Inshallah, you can go through that later as well when I'm sharing the slides. And this is the flow which we were just discussing, that why are we studying the 4 properties, because we need, for us to understand the ism, we need to know the 4 properties, and inshallah from next session onwards you would know that what impact this would create when we know the 4 properties, and how 2 words would be connecting to each other, and what impact this would have in the meaning, inshallah. So if we don't have any further questions, I believe we will conclude for the day. Inshallah we'll continue tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khairan.